just what you
We post,
put in when you go to YouTube. That's just what you.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And we post our, school board meetings on there.
It doesn't have to say Glendale, Oregon. Since I know of.
What's the exact name of our YouTube channel?
Next thing I know.
Okay, Glendale School District number 77.
Yes, and what I really did, before I looked at it. Second. And they should be set.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. I just like to let people know if they're gonna be supported.
I appreciate that.
Every couple of years, I can see if it's best. But, yeah, I mean, and
Yes,
they want it. I also didn't budget anything. It's like, and I didn't budget it. Not sure what we're going to be.
You got bad sense, guys.
I should have that behind us everywhere. Like everybody.
I'm going way down the rabbit. Something. I don't know.
Like, dang it, this isn't cheating, it's previewing. I'm like, oh man.
I'm super proud of it. It's like brand new and, yeah.
Yeah,
Never seen.
happen to be different.
So.
I look at that health, like cancer.
And I
rates and
absolutely
stuff.
appreciate it. Yes, ma'am, it was actually here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There is absolutely no connection.
He figured I'd probably need a backup, so.
Where does it start out? I think it's targeting me on the field.
I was like, I swear to have fun with dip in.
Get you early.
Well, and
Try to take care of my people.
and I love doctor kind of person. So,
I'd love to affect it like that.
yeah.
His other one.
Have to go to the ERs.
We're gonna call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and say the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Start with just us, right? Or we start with the.
Just
Just the board members, so go ahead and start, Ron.
Yes.
On here.
Your line here
Justin here.
is Ryan.
Ryan's, did he get logged in or no? He was gonna try. Oh, yep,
He needs to,
she's gotta let him come in.
yeah. Did he try?
You set up?
Gotcha. That's it.
Do you have to stop sharing to be able to add him?
I'll text him and see if he's. Oh, he's got a thumbs up.
Huh?
He said he's got a thumbs up on here.
Oh.
I haven't texted him. What?
How about that?
Says he's on.
Here.
Can you hear us?
Ask her to speak up. Rod's got hearing issues. If you could speak up when you're talking.
Okay,
So he can hear us wherever he's at.
Okay,
I'll try to yell.
Or you could come right here by me. There's.
did you hear that, Liz?
Yeah.
Like, I normally sit by him, so.
No.
No, you can move over though, and if that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah, I can help take your son. Sure.
Oh, I.
Tell him to go out and come back in.
He's in, he's listening to us.
He's listening to us.
Yeah, he can hear us.
Okay, well, can he unmute himself and talk to us?
Like, I tried, that's what I'm doing.
It may be so hard case.
You're fine.
Eventually.
Sorry, right.
He can't talk.
Oh,
So he can hear us, but he can't talk.
okay, so can we put him on speakerphone? We can do that. Either you or me will put him on speakerphone so that he can talk because he needs to be able.
Maybe you should press some throat.
You know what? I might be able to add his personal email as a presenter. And log off, log back.
Just like.
He said it doesn't have the option for a microphone this time.
Okay, so let's do
What's she
that.
gonna do?
No. He can't talk on there because
If I make him a co-host presenter,
no, he doesn't have a microphone.
No, he has a microphone on the phone. He doesn't have the microphone option on
It's
the
the same thing I
Oh,
was feeling.
okay, okay,
So she's gonna add him as a co-host.
okay,
do my thing.
okay,
We'll wait for you.
okay. Sorry, folks.
There should be Jeopardy music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
What's it? Oh.
We had some Jeopardy music.
Program is this.
I was like, Crystal, we should just move you down too. I was gonna say. Carl's was here, so. Yeah, just. Since Carl's not here every time. Sorry. But the week is really hot, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna get, have no. He won't know it. Right? You'll never know. That's right. You get shuffled to the end of the line. Oopsie. So she wasn't recording.
Is it bad?
But yeah, he,
I was gonna say, I was gonna say. It didn't work.
Oh, I'm just gonna let it all day.
That's
Yes.
funny. That's funny.
And I'm like.
Should be join as a presenter now.
You need to log out, come back.
Yep.
How much your email? Personal.
That's what we're all being. Kids.
Yeah. It's not like civic duty. They took care of my kids, so I guess I'll take care of this.
like somebody to take care of mine.
Anybody would like some red vines? They actually came from the plant fresh. It had an issue with, so they gave it to our driver for sample. But if you want it. Oh.
It's a, you don't.
That's
Yeah, it's really good.
Go get water.
Well, it's less. 15, I don't. That one's, it was late, one up, see if I can, it's one. The other person, I think they're thinking like 108 or 57. Years ago. I don't
I suggest and check your personal email. Oh, we're getting a message.
I did, I didn't believe that.
I had my boss. Excited. Got down on one of them.
I like that color.
Said I won't let him join to his personal email.
I like that color.
Only my work. Yeah, this-
Right, that's, yeah. That's all. Okay.
Not his Glendale email.
Thank you. That's what I was like. What email?
Right. Did you get it or I would have opened it for you? Oh, I think so.
Don't let him ask.
Oh,
Oh, I see a
is he
person.
there?
Yeah.
Can you talk?
Oh.
I can talk. Can you guys hear? There you go. Brian, are you here?
We did roll
Yeah,
call.
I will. All right, Brian's here. Okay. Agenda review. Budget meeting. We nominate a budget chairman. So. Does anybody wish to be chairman, or are we just gonna nominate somebody?
There you go.
There you go.
I nominate Crystal.
Okay. We have a nomination. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I don't think so.
I was wondering, I was like, well, maybe the rules are different.
Well, that's new, but
Okay, all
Well, you can't.
right, we're gonna start over.
nobody was speaking.
Hey,
I
Ryan.
nominate to be the budget chair.
Okay, we have a first. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Ron first, Gerald seconds, this one to be clear. Is there any further discussion? All right, we'll take a vote.
White is.
You,
Oh, what?
No, yes, no.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
You want to go this way?
I was gonna say, either start there, or just don't start with her.
Yeah, you can't vote.
Evidently, I have
No vote. We'll start with you.
She's been voluntold. So white, yes.
Yes,
Gerald, yes.
Caroline, yes.
Justin, yes. Okay,
Brian.
oh, Brian,
Brian,
yeah,
or-
yeah, I forgot about it. All right. So we're gonna open the budget meeting. And we're gonna have a presentation of the budget document. Be Angie?
Can you pop up my presentation, ma'am? I did give you guys a copy of the presentation. I have tried really hard to make all of the numbers and things bigger, but I'm not sure that you can see them on this PowerPoint, so I wanted to make sure that you have them in front of you, just in case. You're welcome. This is brand new, never seen before. So, okay, I am super excited actually about this one. So, welcome to the Budget Committee meeting. This is kind of our agenda. We already elected a Budget Committee chair. It doesn't look like we have to do a vice chair, or you can. Bridget is going to do the budget message. I will do the presentation. We'll take questions, and then we will either says schedule, but we will either recess to the next meeting or approve the budget tonight. And next, we're on like the third one. The next, Bridget's going to do the budget message, so we don't forget. You should have that.
The new school district 77 we approved the inclusion of the 24-25 academic year. I'm pleased to present this budget method to provide transparency regarding our financial status, outline our strategic priorities, and seek our continued partnerships in ensuring the success of all the students.
Excuse me, can you move up a little bit here? I'm sorry, can't hear you.
As we prepare for the 25-26 academic school year, we face significant financial challenges and uncertain times due to potential changes in federal funding, inflation, and unfunded state mandates. This budget's aim is to preserve high-quality classroom instruction, safeguard student wellness, support innovation, and maintain safety and security within our schools. Our financial overview. School operations. Our budget is closely aligned with the district's integrated plan, emphasizing a continued development of career and technical programs, staff support, and strong instructional systems. It is based on the proposed but not yet adopted 11.3 billion state budget for Oregon. Anticipating funding reductions, we project our ending fund balance will decrease from 900,000 in 2025 to 500,000 in 2026. Staffing challenges. Given the instability of our financial forecast, maintaining current staffing levels will be difficult. The current budget reflects a reduction of 3 full-time positions through the attrition of the 25-26 school year. Further reductions may be necessary depending on the final state budget decision and federal directives. Increased financial pressure, raising costs of essential services, materials, and programs continue to strain our budget. Ongoing negotiations with both OSEA and OEA unions may further impact our staffing costs. Family impacts. For the first time in over 5 years, families will be asked to contribute towards basic school supplies. We will also be introducing a pay-to-play model for athletic programs to help offset some of those costs. Facilities. Over the past several years, our district has made significant progress on our infrastructure through the bond and seismic projects, which concluded in the 24-25 school year. We now shift our focus to maintaining these improvements through maintenance plan and will continue to pursue additional grants to further the seismic upgrades on all campuses. Strategic priorities, student success. We remain committed to delivering high quality education that prepares students for college, career, and life. Equity access. We ensure that every student receives the support and resources they need to thrive. We continue to target grants such as high school success and student investment account to sustain our CTE electives and intervention programs. Community engagement. Our community partnerships are essential. We are especially grateful to the recent community-led rehabilitation of our boys baseball field, a project fully funded by donations and grants. Fiscal responsibilities. We are committed to prudent financial stewardship and long-term sustainability within the constraints of our budget. So this is the call to action. The success of the Glendale School District depends on our collective efforts and all stakeholders to engage in the upcoming budget discussions, provide feedback, and join us in shaping the future of the school. Together, we continue to build strong, resilient, and student-centered future for our students of Glendale. Thank you. Which was a little more confident. Yeah. You did a great job. Next slide.
And now you get me doing the budget presentation. Next slide. Sorry. Because we have some newer people to the budget process, I did want to add just a few things in here. So tonight, budget committee duties, you'll receive the budget document, receive the budget message, we'll discuss the budget, hear public comment, if there is any, and then we either approve, eventually you will approve and recommend the budget be adopted to the board. Next slide. This one is mostly just a reminder, you are here to review and approve the district's proposed budget and the criteria that's used to review the budget as aligned with the board's stated goals. You are not here to make any changes to salary, benefits, contract terms, class size, staffing level, provisions of programs, services, creating or modifying district policies. We leave that to the board. So those are just your do's and your don'ts for today. Next slide. So this is the state school fund history and the projection. So this is the overall state school fund. So as you can see in 2015-17, we were at about 7.2 billion. It has continued to increase up to what we're estimating will be the 11.3-ish. But in those middle years where you see that there was a 9.8% and then like a 3.3% increase, those are the years that are now impacting us because those are the years that we didn't, when the state school fund increased, it didn't meet the needs of the expenses. And so districts were having to compensate out of their ending fund balances. It is slowly increasing, but unfortunately, so are the costs. So you'll see that we are expected to get an 11.4% increase next year. However, costs dependent on, your COLAs and materials and goods are going to exceed that 11.4% increase that we'll see. Okay.
So we're getting the money from the budget that was passed in 21-23. That's the way you explain that was. Me anyhow.
No, basically what it is because when, back in 2017-19, when people got the 13.3, this is what I understood it as. When people got the 13.3, they increased a lot of salaries, et cetera, and gave a percentage to go from this year to this year to this year. And then when it went from 9.8 to 3.3, it was continuing to increase because
Salary.
salaries, right? And so when it went to 3.3,
We operated fine.
right,
Yeah.
but people also increased salaries because the cost of living and everything was going up more than what we were getting. And because we had the budget to be able to do it, it went up. It's basically what I'm hearing.
That's correct. And as a
Okay.
reminder, when we look at this, it's for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I know that.
So when you look at like the 11.4% increase, that's 11.4% that-
2 years.
for 2 years. So if you know, cut that and it's a 49-51 split. So even if you cut it in half, that doesn't cover everything that we're increasing in costs. It barely covers people. So the next one, I don't know why it looks so funny up on this screen, but that is ugly and not how it looks on mine. So your paper is much prettier. This is an overview of our budget by fund. I really wanted to go back and kind of give you guys a history of where we're progressing. So if you look down at that fiscal year 22-23, the first two that I want you to look at is the general fund and the special revenue fund. The special revenues are like your grants funding. So we were at about 6.4 million in our general fund, 22-23. And we were at about 3.5 in our special revenue. Remember back in those 3.5, 3.3s, that's where we had ESSER funding that came in, right? So it really saved us in those years. So your 22, 23, 23, 24, you were, 6.4, 6.3 in your general fund, 3.5 to 3.3 in your special revenue fund. As you move forward, you can kind of see where your general fund expenses are decreasing. So the special revenue, like the ESSER money, is going away, but this is also just showing you that we are using a lot of money out of those special revenue funds. A lot of that now moving forward is people. So if we have salaries and benefits in that special revenue fund and those grants or that funding source goes away, we have to somehow support that in the general fund, or we are going to lose programs and people.
So why is the general fund going down so
Um,
much?
for 25-26, it's going down because it's based on the funding that we're going to be receiving. We've also moved some staffing costs into grants. So your Title I
The general
IDEA,
fund's the money we get from the state, right?
not all of it. So it's taxes, your state school fund, any miscellaneous revenues that come in. But the bulk majority of it is your state school.
But if we're moving up a percentage on the state fund, I think we're moving down in our.
So you're not really moving up much in percentage or dollars when you look at that. So we get, in the first year of the biennium, we only get 49%
Yeah.
of the 11.4. So like this current year, we were receiving 51% of what this biennium's chunk is. So when you go from that last year of the biennium to the first year of the new biennium, you're already losing basically 3%. So that's why it looks like that in the first year of the biennium.
22, 23, we're 5.6 million down. But so far the state budget has moved up money.
Your tax levels have changed. The state school fund itself based on enrollment. So it shows an 11. Yeah, so it shows an 11.4%, but enrollment
Was down.
has gone, since COVID years, has gone down. So
We have less money because we have less kids.
yeah, statewide, we're down 30,000 kids.
Just making sure that everybody understands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
yes. Yeah.
But as a district, we're up.
We are maintaining. We are maintaining. There have been some fluctuations in these years here that also impact. The other thing that impacts your state school fund is your teacher experience. And transportation. We also, in previous years, were receiving, federal forest dollars that we are not really receiving. And those were a lot.
Can I also reiterate that even though we're maintaining and our kids are going up, they did go up this year and we're 3 years back, basically. Is that correct? 3 or 2? 2 years back. And that's where we lost, was when the whole COVID thing and everything, we lost students when that happened. So they don't look at this year, they look at 2 years prior. Yeah.
So we're having two impacting us now.
Correct.
In that aspect.
Yes,
That's what you were saying. That's
right,
talking about the sliding scale effect.
right. And that's why it's so hard when you're looking at a school board budget. It's so hard to be able to say, okay, well, we're increasing here, we're increasing here. What the heck?
Well, it's like almost 20%
Right,
now in
exactly.
money,
Mhm,
but the state has increased their dollars.
right, because, but we don't have,
And I will say the federal forest funds is a huge hit.
it was.
It was around 200 to 300,000.
Yeah.
That you were getting, that is no longer. We did get, I will say, we did get some federal forest fees this year to the tune of like $4,000. So, not,
Like nothing.
it, I don't like to say it's nothing, but it's
Well-
very, very small. It's
Yeah.
very minimal. It doesn't compensate for that 300,000. So, any questions on this? The two that I wanted to honestly show were mostly the general fund and the special revenue. Your capital projects fund obviously was very large, because you had bond money and all of that. It's now very small. So, that's pretty much gone. Your unemployment fund, I will highlight that a little bit. We are increasing that. Gradually, we're trying to gradually increase that. The funding for that comes off of salary. So a percentage of the payroll is put into this fund. With the new unemployment laws, those costs have increased. And anytime somebody goes on unemployment, it is not like the private sector where the state handles that. So for schools, if somebody goes out on unemployment, we pay that bill directly. So the state pays it out, they bill us. So each person, when you look at that, when they get, and I don't even know what people get weekly, I'm afraid to look, but they bill us quarterly. And so we are responsible for it.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't come out of
It
check.
doesn't
So
come out of their check.
that's why the school pays, they just send a direct bill to the school pays whatever they charge them.
Right.
So it's still an expense even if that person's not.
No,
Well-
it's, they only get, we only get, so if somebody collects $100 for unemployment, we pay $100 for unemployment.
Right.
We pay the exact amount that's paid out.
That's paid out.
There are some additional costs that the state
And
puts in there, but
the new rules that she's talking about is prior to last year, during the summer and different things, people couldn't get on unemployment if they were, because they had the option to get paid for 12 months
Yeah.
or not. Well, they still have that option, but if they can still do the unemployment.
basically anytime,
That's why it's raising.
anytime classified employees are on a break. I don't like to say them out loud, but on a break for an extended time frame, they are eligible to apply for unemployment. So,
That's new law.
yes, so that is why, we have put some of those payroll costs. So we take a percentage every month out of payroll. It goes into this fund to pay for those bills as they come. There really is no way to, know what that bill is going to look like. It is a guess on who's going to apply and who's not. Okay. These next few slides are just structure of the budget, so you can kind of get a sense of what you're going to look at. The budget is organized by funds. And each fund is divided into resources, which is revenue or money coming in, and requirements, which are expenses. Those must balance. And when we say balance, they must equal 0. So your estimated revenue coming in or resources has to equal your estimated requirements or expenses. So what that means essentially is that if the money doesn't come in, the expenses can't go out. So just know that just because the budget is approved, if the funding doesn't come in, we can't spend it. So you would think. This is, again, just a structure. So we've got different funds. You guys have a general fund, special revenue fund, a debt service fund, a capital projects fund, an unemployment fund, and a trust and agency. Trust and agency is your scholarship fund typically. Then in your funds, it's broken down by resources or revenue sources. So you've got your local sources, your intermediates, your state, your federal, and your other. On the expenditure side, it's done by fund and then your function. So instruction, support services, enterprise and community services, which I'll tell you is mostly food service. That's what they consider it. Facilities acquisition and construction, other uses, your contingency, and your unappropriated ending fund balance. And then from there, it's broken down by salary, payroll costs, purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, other objects, and transfers. So this can kind of be like your study guide as you move forward. Feel free to take this. If you get confused in the budget, you could, this is helpful.
Where are the special funds that the board has set up?
In the 200s, the special revenues.
Okay, there is special, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This next one shows you, so when you're looking at an actual budget page in the document, this explains what each of those columns mean. And so those first two columns, the 22-23 and the 23-24 actuals, those are what our actual expenditures or revenues were for the preceding 2 years. The budgeted expenditures in like your 25-26 proposed, and then the 24-25 adopted, those are what we've budgeted for the current year or the prior years. Proposed, approved, and adopted expenditures, that's for this coming year. That FTE is for positions paid from a particular fund. So an FTE is full-time equivalency. So I do want to make a note that that doesn't mean one person. So if you see a 1.0 FTE, that could be 4 people coded there. They could be 0.25, you know, so we split people into quarters here and there.
Gotcha. So there could be 4 people working quarter days to be 1.
Correct. Yeah. So just know that when you see those numbers, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's actual bodies in there. And we have done some adjustments in the budget this year, moving people between general fund and grant fund. So you may see some, you know, as you're looking through different FTEs, for the most part, the people are the same. It's just how we're funding them. This is budget buckets. So in your general fund for your revenue, that's where your property taxes, your state revenue, so your school fund, and any like local levy options that you have. Your expenses are all of your general operating expenses. So your maintenance, transportation, general fund expenditures, people are in there. That's about 5.6 million, which is 66% of this budget total. Your 200s, which are the special purpose or special revenue funds, that's all of your grants, your IDA, your integrated guidance, which is the Student Investment Act, high school success. Yeah.
Can you say what the IDA is for people that don't?
It's the, it's for special ed. I can't remember what the, thank you. I can never remember. Special ed students. Food service is in here, student body is in here. And like Caroline said, we've got a PERS reserve fund, a building fund, curriculum fund, technology fund, I think that's it, but those are all in here as well. Bus, thank you. And that's about 2.6 million, which is 31% of the total overall budget. Your 300s, which is debt service, that is for those bonds that we went out for to help with the buildings and all of that. So the only thing that comes in and out of that is interest and debt payments. And then your bond payments, that's it. This year, it's only about 114,000 because the bond is, we've used it all. So it's 0.02% of your budget. We are still making bond payments based on the taxes that we receive in from the community. Your 400s are capital project, which is again, bonds and capital funds. So this is where we actually spend the bond money. So when we got the bond proceeds, it was all put into this fund. That's where we were spending everything. Seismic grants are also in here if we receive them. And that covers your new buildings, your improvements and maintenance. That's $14,000 this year, which is 0.01 of your budget. Unemployment, I feel like we've now talked that one to death. That's 0.02% of your budget. Your 700s, which are trust and agency fund, those are all private donations. So that's the scholarship fund and it's specific to those scholarships. Again, that's 0.01% of your budget. So as you can see, a bulk of yours is general fund and those special purpose.
That should be coming up soon.
It came out Friday.
Oh, did it?
We are not a recipient.
Oh, there you go. We're not on the way.
I apologize. I didn't know that you had not received that. I can forward that to you. They only, I was in a school business officials meeting on Friday and they flashed it up on the screen.
Oh.
So I didn't know that they hadn't sent it out. So
They have not.
I apologize. I will forward that to you.
It's fine.
You know, we got it for 2 years in a row, so, yeah.
Because I actually watched that to see if I needed to add it to the budget.
It happens.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Okay. This is a slide that shows your enrollment and how it impacts or affects your revenue. I went all the way back to 1819 so that you could kind of see where your enrollment. So your enrollment is that average daily membership. That is butts in the seat, I call it. So that's when your students are in the seats. Your ADMW is your average daily membership weighted. And so when we say weighted, we get additional weights for special ed, students in poverty, students in, trying to read that upside down, foster care. Yeah, we only get special ed and poverty right now on ours. So that's kind of where you can see the numbers. So back in 1819, our ADMW was 474.56. I know those numbers are so tiny and I've done everything I could to increase them, so I apologize. And now we're at 408.11 in our ADMW. So from 1819 to 25-26, we have definitely decreased in that ADMW. Not necessarily, interestingly, not necessarily in enrollment, because we were at 290 in 1819 and we've budgeted at 290 for 25-26. So you can really see too how them actually being in the seats and those additional weights are impacting what we are receiving. It does, it looks like we are on a good trajectory. And I'm just hoping that that's where we stay. So
we'll talk about tickets.
Yep. Okay. This one's a little scary. So this is our general fund only. This is revenue and expenditures. This is showing you from 2018-19 all the way to what we're proposing in 25-26. The light blue line is our expenditures. The dark blue line is the revenue that we receive. This does not include fund balance, so any money that we carry over. This is just apples for apples, what we get, what we spend in each year. As you can see, back in, 22, 23, we received like 4.1 and we spent 4.5. That trajectory is continuing. Our expenditures are above what we're bringing in. And so what has saved the district has been those other grant funds that have come in, seismics, ESSER, and then having ending fund balances to support those additional expenses. So if we continue on this path, however, we will deplete any additional resources that we have. That's why I like to show this one, just so that you can see where those expenses and the revenue is.
But this isn't counting like the grants, SIA grants and stuff.
This is just general funds,
But counting expenses associated with those funds?
It's
just general fund.
Okay.
This is just our general fund, because that's the only one I really have, well, control over, because your grant funds come in and they're very specific.
So the
So-
expenditures is based on just grant, your general fund.
Just your general fund,
Right.
and it's basically salaries and benefits, and then,
Yeah.
And stuff that we need for cleaning and for
It-
everything else, paper, everything.
and the salary and benefits is something that, if you get rid of people, you're getting rid of programs. So, but when I put this together and I saw it, it's just something to see, right? There's not an overabundance of funding.
But I do run at $1 million deficit when your fund balance is only 900,000. Right. So I'm confused about,
It's only $900,000 difference.
okay.
I'm like 4.7 to 5.6 is 900,000.
The question still stands.
25, 26
Oh,
proposal.
I was talking about for the last, however, since 22, 23.
Yeah.
Our ending fund balances have covered those.
Yeah.
All the way up.
So was the ending fund balance, and we'll say 23, 24, was it 2.5 million?
Yes, it was over that, actually, and
Fund balance
that's,
was?
yes, and that's why we were able to go to 24, 25, how we did. Because part of that ending fund balance from 23, 24 went to 24, 25.
We were told this year we didn't use it, right? We didn't make any transfers. That's what.
We haven't
It
made
wasn't
any transfers.
We
You are
used the
using,
ending fund balance.
you were using your beginning fund balance.
Right,
So this is the last year we get to use our ending fund balance.
basically.
If I were to give doom and gloom based on the trajectory, yes. You're gonna end with you're gonna start with 900,000 and you're gonna end with 500,000. So you have 500,000 for the next year. If you continue at a $900,000 deficit, you
How
can't
does the
support that.
900,000? Because there's the projected is 5.6 to 4.7. So that's 900,000, right?
Mhm, which is covered by your beginning fund balance that's coming in.
Yeah, but we're gonna have 500,000.
So when I take the 900,000 and I add it into your expenditures include your ending fund balance of 500,000.
Taking all the money and saving,
Correct,
and
yeah.
filling in all the holes. That
Exactly.
money's gonna dry up.
Exactly. And that's something that the board has actually tried really, really hard to do. And that's why it's like the special funds that have been set aside for all of the different things like bus replacement and different things that are needed to be able to keep our district running, basically, is what those funds are. And we have set money aside to be able to do those things. And,
But that's not.
right, but it's like this, we have a retirement fund basically that we were going to be having to transfer over, which would be taking out and hitting us even further with the general fund if we had to transfer it. We ended up not having to transfer it, which was a good thing. But if we continue on the projection that we are, then those extra monies are going to end up not being able to be put in there. And we're going to be having to cut things and just one right after.
It might be out of order in your slide, but like, where does the increase, like, 2.2 million come from? And since 2018, just cost of goods and cost of employment,
People,
a lot of money.
when you look at your COLAs annually, and the district has been generous with those COLAs. So when you look at, 5% cost of living plus a step, that's a 3%, that's 8% across the board for staff. So it does not take long for those costs to increase. Your cost of goods, so your fuel costs have gone up for heating, for busing. Everything that we purchase has gone up. Your food costs have gone up probably triple. So everything goes up, and the revenue isn't supporting those huge increases, unfortunately. I know I feel like I'm now the doom and gloom, and I'm really sorry, but
I set you up for it.
you did, and I'm trying to smile.
Yeah, it's that we're not seeing right now, either at the federal or state level. There will be some reductions in staff that are going to be happening. And we're holding on.
We've got a life preserver, and we're.
So next year will be the let go. We're all right.
I'll be able to tell you in 6 months. I'm not projecting anything right now because the government is so, yeah. Yeah.
I've talked about them for a couple of years. It was going to be. Yeah.
We're there.
A little bit later than some other districts.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about this for a couple of years.
Other districts are, and I'm sure you guys see the news, right? Other districts are and have been laying off for the last 2 years. In waves. So I will say that you guys have been fortunate to not have that and to be able to sustain your programs and your people. And you've, been able to, when people leave, not fill those. And so it's not letting people go.
But it's also just like we're running on a fat staffing costs.
Right.
So that's scary too. Right? But
The next one shows basically total budget. 72% of your total overall budget is salary and benefits. So those are costs that, besides negotiations and those increases, these are set costs that are there. So if with the people that we have in the programs that we have, 72% of your budget is people and their benefits. 28% is the other. And you are not alone in this. This is normal. I really don't understand why it looks so weird up there. But anywho, we've kind of talked a lot about your general fund and what it is, but this is, it's all of your instructional programs, the daily operations of the school, general functions. Revenue is primarily from the state school fund and property tax. Your general fund alone is 70% of that is salary and benefits. So almost 3.9 million of just your general fund is people, 70%.
you have to think of this. I just want the reality of there that 11, 13 staff members right now, I believe, are in our HSS, SIA, title, or sped funding.
That's where their budgets are.
They're not like that, they're not even in the general fund.
Right.
They're in the special budgets, exactly.
And that,
That's 13.
That's the part that scares me.
Yeah.
you'll see that as well. I did put that in here too. This is just to show you again, your overall general fund expenditures, that giant puzzle or piece over there, 70% salary and benefits. When you look at your contingency and your ending fund balance, it's 9% of your budget. So, and then, you know, everything else is just so minimal in comparison to that. The next one, this just again reiterates the contingency fund and the unappropriated. Your contingency fund, we've set aside 200,000. That's something that the board can take action throughout the year to use those funds in an emergency. The unappropriated ending fund balance that we've set aside 300,000, it cannot be used without a supplemental budget. Supplemental budget means we bring all of you back in, we do a budget document, we go through the budget hearing and all of that. So essentially we've got $500,000 set aside to end next year with, that we hope will be there to start us in the next year.
Which has, just so everybody knows, we have always, up until now, started out with at least a mil. And yeah, it's gonna continue with that, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
So your fund, your 200s, your special revenue or grant funds, this is again, all of your grants. This comes from your federal, state, and local grants. It does include nutrition services, any, you know, early retirement funds, insurance reserves, all of those extra funds are in here. What I want to note in here, like Bridget was saying, 46% of this fund is salary and benefits. So if these funds, pots of money go away, you have to add that back into your general fund. So, not that I'm anticipating those to go away, but yes. And I will tell you your budget in those special revenue funds, there is a 5 to 10% reduction in there for federal grants. Honestly, we heard anywhere between 4% and 25% cut. The latest news is that they're going to hold those flat. I will believe it when I see it. So there's a 10% reduction. I felt that was as conservative as I was comfortable being at this point. I didn't want to take a 25% hit. So, you know, I'm crossing my fingers and I'm really hopeful that it comes in flat funded. That
We have 10%.
Correct.
Yes.
Which would be.
Which would just
the-
take people from general fund and put them where they should be. So,
It's not as if we have
Yeah.
more money, basically.
Yeah.
It's that it would be taking from Peter and putting into Paul.
Giving back.
And, yeah, and then giving back to Paul. Yeah. It's just moving it. That's the-
Better balance of your budget.
Yeah.
this one just explains again your debt fund. This is the accumulation of resources and payments for your general long-term debt and interest. Ours is associated with the construction bond. Other districts have PERS bonds. And the resources come from property taxes and any payroll charges, if you have PERS bonds. That's all that goes in and out of this fund. It's your capital projects fund, is again, those, resources used for, you know, constructing major capital facilities. And then that revenue only is from your bonds. Or some districts do, we have a building fund. So if the district decides to do transfers, we put the money in there rather than this capital projects. But you could also put it in the capital projects fund. So we had two because we had so many seismics, and the bond, we were trying to keep those separate. And then lastly, I guess not lastly, 600, your fund 600 is your unemployment. Again, money comes in from payroll. I don't know what's going to go out. So. And then your 700, that trust and agency scholarships. So what money we get in for scholarships or that we have in, that's the only thing that we can use to fund those scholarships. And then that's the end of the presentation. I do want to have you look at page 7 in your budget. This is the only page that I'm actually going to review, and then I'll leave it up to you guys to ask any questions or anything from there. I'll wait for Caroline to get hers. No, you're fine. Page 7,
I was reading it.
the one that you've highlighted. It's yes, so page 7 is an overall fund summary. I don't go line by line through the budget because that's a lot of pages. I will answer questions for anything that you guys have that has come up, but this front summary page is where you can see the snapshot of everything. So you can see all of the revenues broken down by how those come in for each fund, and then how the expenditures are broken down again by each fund. And then you can see the total. Our total proposed budget for this year is $8,567,613. You can see that the total under resources matches the total under expenditures, which I say, please always check that because I am human and yeah, but it does match. So that's what we want. So that's when we talked earlier, revenue has to equal expenditures. That is really all that I had to throw at you. I feel like I've been talking at you for a really long time. So I am open to any questions that you have on the budget, any questions in general. Any questions, basically, or comments?
Revenue that's going towards the outside sourcing. We did reduce our ESD positions by 1. We are pulling back the director of special education this year, and we have a staff member that is going to take on that responsibility, which gave us a little bit of savings there. We're not paying another entity to do a job for us within our district. But I wanted you to know that that was one of the moves that we made.
I do also want to point out, because Caroline had mentioned it earlier, that the district in the past has transferred funds from the general fund into all the curriculum, the transportation, all of those funds. This budget that I am presenting to you does a transfer into the food service fund only and the bond as required. I was not able to find in your general fund where we would be able to support those additional transfers into the other funds for next year. So I do want to be very transparent that that's not in here. I'm not saying that we cannot do that, but this is what I have proposed. If you guys want to make changes to that, it would need to come out of one of your reserve funds, or you would have to decrease your ending fund balance. I will take whatever direction you want. This was what I and Bridget had proposed as our recommendation.
So basically, when it says local revenue for curriculum 2000, that is not getting put in there. Is that correct?
That is, and what you see local revenue, that's interest.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they are earning some interest on the monies that we have setting in there, but there will be no other. And in the bus replacement, that state revenue, that's what we get from the state school fund.
Correct.
And that's the percentage that comes in. So
Okay.
that's all that you'll see that I have in there. And we are proposing and estimating $100,000 transfer into the food service program. Our food costs and our people costs currently are a lot, in comparison with what we're getting back from the state.
I understand.
So,
It's,
Taking on the bus one, because you brought it up.
Yep.
So it, it says that, you're gonna have 108,000 in there, right?
Yep.
And then what's the 100,000 support services, leaving us with 8120? Right? If I read that right?
so I have to put an expense in.
Okay.
So basically, I just estimate in case we need to buy a short bus, a van, a bus. After talking to Nina, it's just, so there have to be expenses.
That way, if we want to buy something.
Yep.
There's gotta be something in the budget.
There has to be, yeah, if there's money in the fund, money has to go out of the fund on the paper.
Right.
So if we don't spend 100,000. Then
It
it's
will
just
still be
staying
there.
in the bus fund.
Correct.
So then that would decrease our, well, it's not in the general fund though, so never mind.
no.
You're,
Basically, it's taking out of the, well, not this year, but
It's in the
normally it would
proposed,
take out and, right,
it's in the proposed full budget,
right,
but the doom and gloom general fund is unaffected by
no.
that.
uh-uh.
it's not, yeah, your general fund is not impacted by transferring money out, which alternatively means those other funds are not impacted by money coming in. I tried.
I know. I know. And to me, after being able to keep the district afloat for as long as we have is pretty incredible, to be honest. Because there are a number of school districts that are going in the red, basically.
Yes.
So, and that we don't have, that we can't transfer this year. Maybe cross our fingers that we can put in next year. And at least keep these alive so that we can.
I just want to not have $1 million deficit, because you only get.
Exactly.
So long.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and I
yeah.
will say, as this next school year progresses, you're going to find me being extremely transparent in everything. If there's extra money, you're going to know that. And then the board is going to make those decisions on, does that go towards our ending fund balance, or does that get transferred to a reserve fund because we know we're gonna need a bus, or so, you're gonna get to, yeah, I'm gonna be a lot more vocal this next year, I can tell you, because I want to make sure that you guys are on the same page that I am with where we're at. Again, these numbers are built on worst case, what we know.
So I'll ask you a question that you can't answer, but just to play.
Rude.
We're approving a budget based on numbers that we don't know.
Yeah,
Because
yep,
the state hasn't come out with our numbers,
that is correct.
but there's a worst case scenario number floating around in the air that this budget's created off of. Right? No,
No.
just,
This budget is built off of what the governor has stated her school budget will be.
It's been a consistent number
For months.
all.
She is not finalizing her budget until June. We cannot wait
no, I know.
for that. I don't see that it's going to change. She's been very set. I don't know, something could come up, but right now I don't see where I don't see where the schools are going to get more. So I am confident in this number. I don't,
But it's not set in stone.
Right. And the only number that is concerning is the federal monies. And that's where it's an unknown because it's in the courts, it goes in the courts, out of the courts, and then something else happens and goes into the courts and out of the courts.
Actually, it has to go through their own budgetary process. The president established his budget
Yeah.
and presented that over this last week. And now it moves through the Senate and process and for approval. So his budget did stay firm on Title I special education. Didn't see Title II funds in there, didn't see Title III, he eliminated Title IV, which don't affect us. So,
And we don't know on nutrition.
and we do not know.
So that is the other piece. Your,
Elephant in the room.
yeah, your food service, is mostly federal funded. When you look at this, your federal revenue, across the board is a little over $667,000. That is with the 10% reduction. So if you look under resources on the side and the one that says federal revenue
Makes sense.
on page
Yeah.
7.
Under 280 food service.
So there's 201 and then there's 280. Yeah, sorry, on that federal revenue, $667,000 is what we get from the federal government for total
Yeah.
for grants and
Service,
food
yeah.
service.
But what happens if they don't fund food service for next year?
Then we come back,
Our kids had a hump.
we come back to the board and ask what you want to do.
Okay,
There's no funding built in
Yeah.
to cover that.
There's no
Um,
funding.
Do I think that that's going to happen?
Charge.
I don't, but I have been wrong before, so I don't know, but I.
And our job is to prepare you for that might happen, so it's not a shock or a surprise, but I would say, as Angie and I working on this budget, this is our best guess of what's gonna happen. It is what is being advised at the state level and through the superintendent associations. But until some other people do their job, we can't give you that gold star that says this is perfect.
this is like the halfway point to next year, where it either goes one way or the other. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And it was built, I would say, very conservatively. There are a few increases built in for those things that we know are going to increase. Obviously, your liability insurance, electricity, those types of things, and then salary and benefits. Other than that, we are pretty level funded across the board. There were even some areas of supplies and different things that were reduced because it's just not there. So, yeah. So we can do questions, and at this point, I did give everybody a paper. You can either approve what you see and move on, or we can recess, and there is a meeting scheduled for next, I want to say Wednesday. If we need to come back, if you guys really want to review it some more.
You guys follow that mostly?
Just Brian.
Brian, do you have any questions? Are you still there?
None for me.
I apologize, Brian. I didn't send you anything ahead of time. I wasn't aware you wouldn't be here, so I apologize.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry about it at all.
So can we approve this to go to the board?
I think
Right?
Crystal has to.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just asking because it's not on the.
So on your agenda, it doesn't look like it's on here. You can't. So at this point, you either have to make a motion to approve the budget, and approving the budget doesn't mean it's final.
Yes.
It just means it goes to the board, and then the board, we will have a budget hearing in June. The board, there can be changes as needed. Or you adjourn or recess and come back next week if you want to dive in some more. So those are your two options right now.
You guys feel?
it's a lot to digest. Um, questions that I have after reading, after hearing the budget message from Bridget. One of the things that's a concern of mine is the family impact part that you talked about, where, families are going to be asked to contribute. We're talking about a community that has food insecurity at home.
Yeah.
We're talking about a community that has job insecurity and housing insecurity, and you're going to be asking them to, put money out for basic supplies. How is this going to affect the tenure and the tempo of the students? I mean, you may lose some students. You may, have how has that been thought through? How is that impacting you?
Prior to COVID, supplies were purchased by families. We had our ESSER funds that came in, and I'm gonna tell you that I purposely squirreled away a lot of supplies through our ESSER fund to take us to this point. We're 3 years past ESSER at this point, to alleviate some of that impact on families. How it's going to affect, we have families that come in every year and say, what supplies do I need to buy? And we are minimizing what our expectations are. We're saying a box of crayons, a couple things of paper, because ultimately right now we're all in this together, and everybody needs to realize that impact is coming a little bit, and might bring a little bit of awareness to parents of where our budget is and what we're doing. Probably the hardest thing that I did was say, hey, let's say parents, because the economy in our area is struggling at times, but between the administrators and I, we've been really just talking about what do we actually need. We need a few pencils. We need a little bit of paper. We need some crayons. We're not asking for $400 worth of supplies. We're probably looking at more like $40 worth or $20 worth. So that we can keep as many things going. As we went through this budget, I literally talked about cutting in every single area. And our admin team will know, we have retiring teachers. I'm not replacing them. We have supplies and materials that they've already heard me start saying, cut. We're not doing this anymore. Our maintenance department has given me a budget where he's cutting what he's doing to help maintain our resources. Our teacher in the room probably doesn't want to know this, but I have a list of where areas in staffing I will need to cut if I get another head. And so to ask for a few supplies from our families, as much as we can get, I'm not sure is the biggest ask.
What I'm wondering, and this is probably completely off topic, there are people in the community that don't have a vested interest by having a child in the school system. Some of these people, if they knew that this is a concern.
Yeah.
Basic,
Yeah.
I mean, some of us are of an age where, going to school each school year, that was, you got a new notebook, you got pencils, you got a new pair of shoes, this type of a thing. But there are people in the community in the surrounding area that if they don't have a vested interest by having a child or grandchild or niece or nephew within the school district, but they may have resources, they may have areas that they can go to help out. How do you get the how do you get the word out?
I have been working on for a long, long time, trying to get people to understand where we are. We have, we have done, I don't know how many, now I'm gonna do it. We have done community. Thank you. We've done community, I've put it out there that anybody can come. You don't have to have a student, you don't have to have anybody here. We're doing a State of the Union, basically, address. Come talk to us and see where we are. Maybe one or two people show up, and that's it. We put it out there as much as we can. We put out emails, we put out, we can't email the entire community because we don't have that.
Right.
But we put out emails, we put it on Facebook, we put it in the paper, we put it in.
So
Don't get.
I would say if you have any ideas on how we connect, I'm open to those suggestions. And, you know,
Reports.
just sitting here listening, you know, maybe we do a supply drive.
Yeah.
And see what we can do.
Right.
And put it out there. But I don't think it's about the supplies necessarily, other than that's a family impact that I wanted people to know about. Our long-term stability, means that we are being very frugal in what we're doing now. And that, to maintain, I mean, we have some amazing programs that we've developed. And I'm really, really working hard to keep those programs. We're also doing I just submitted last week a Ford Foundation grant that may help in that area of supplies, but because I don't have that money now, I'm not,
Right.
right? And so, you did? So we are looking at, alternative grant opportunities and, at every step of the way. Mr. Hunt this week is writing a grant opportunity to, provide some summer school resources for our kids. Right? And so anytime that comes to our table, we're doing the 27 pages of answer questions to get it.
Mhm.
And we're hoping that we're going to be getting some of that funding that will help offset some of those family costs, because those are important to me.
And businesses have been very generous as well.
Yes.
And they will continue to be very generous.
I know from personal experience and from, you know, the standpoint of a youngster in high school who may not have the supplies, but, you know, Susie has the supplies, you know, but Shelley doesn't have the supplies. And, you know, well, how come, you know, and
Well, ultimately, whatever kids need, we're going to make sure that
right.
one way or the other, we'll make sure that they get it.
And it's, you know,
It's
that's
just,
always, it's a critical thing for children.
I grew
You know,
up in that
and
way
for
too.
them to feel that.
Yep.
You know, that they feel secure in being able to go to school.
Yeah.
And know that, you know, not only are they going to have the supplies, but they're going to have the teachers there. And the
Yeah.
electricity is going to be on, and,
Yeah.
you know, it's a secure feeling to be able to have that, you know, as part of their growing up.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, because that was something that, you know.
Are you wondering if there's a way to, like, people also say, you, for example, you want to sponsor a kid that doesn't have school supplies, and we could get a hold of somebody in the community, is that kind of where you're going with that?
Could, you know,
Like, is there a program set up that, you know, Susie and Tom and Billy can afford it, but they could go put their name in, and there's a group of.
I think that would be an awesome idea, is, you know, for, you know, sponsor a class, or sponsor a child or something like that, you know, or,
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. That's what I thought. That's what I was.
yeah,
Felt like you were.
you know, something where there are people who would have the means, may not have a relative.
Yeah.
But they
They
would
wanna help
have,
out.
you know, they would have the means to be able to assist.
I think we're really on the track.
I know we're going way
Having,
off
no,
track.
no, I'm looking at Devin and just saying, maybe we're on the track of putting together some kind of supply drive.
I don't think it's take much.
I don't think it would take much work either. And I don't disagree with you.
I would add, I'm pretty plugged into the other districts in Douglas County, and I think we're the only one who does not still have a supply list.
Yeah.
This is not the.
We are.
Right.
District.
And it's not, we're not, we're like one of the only ones, not just in Douglas County, but in Josephine and Jackson as well.
And,
Yeah.
and also your the pay to play model
Yeah.
is, something to
That's-
leave the whole thing together. I mean, to have somebody can sponsor
Yep.
a child either for pay to play athletics or, supplies.
We had talked about
I think
having a
that that's
connection of a
something that
scholarship fund under that one as well.
It would,
You have people in the community that would sponsor kids for the pay to play and their supplies. We
Yes.
just reached out and let, these people know that this is where you guys are at. I'm pretty sure we have a lot of members in our community that would absolutely love to help sponsor this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think another big thing we should do, and I know kind of getting off topic, like you said, of those, we need to put together fundraising things for those kids like that, like, bake sales, things like that, because you're getting out there, you're getting the name out there. So get sponsorship that way, get donations that
Yeah,
way.
but the only thing I'm gonna say is when we say we should do this, okay? That's another hat putting on all of the staff unless we as a board are gonna say, we're gonna start doing this. So, right, and that's that,
I have no problem with that.
I need to be clear with that, that is.
No,
Well,
I have
yes,
no problem with that. I think
So,
Bob
I'm
said
gonna
it. Pretty
tell
good
you-
to
We have
do
no
that.
problem with that.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
going along that line, I think that's an opportunity and I'm gonna tell you that the town of Glendale and the community of Azalea that services our school have always been generous in their donations and support of our school. So like we do those things and our kids have, and we reserve some of our like bake sales for the kids to put on for activities that they're interested in, not necessarily supplies that we need kind of
Right.
thing. And so, I just want to say, like, I've worked in another district, the generosity that comes out of the people in Glendale as a whole, and it's not just the big companies or the big, we've had a gentleman walk into the elementary last year and write us a check to support our students. We've had, and just because he liked what we were doing at the school. And so I know that that's there. I truly believe, Ginger, you are right. And we have benefited greatly from the generosity of the people in Glendale to support this school.
I think, a grassroots activity
Yeah,
would go a long way,
yeah,
to help everybody feel good.
yeah.
Cause it's
It's our school.
the feel good comes, in the being able to be of service and being able to make a difference.
Yeah.
Is, it's not the people who necessarily receive something, it's the people who are able to gift
Yeah,
of time, funds, services. That's where the positive comes.
absolutely.
And
Yeah, I think you and I are on the exact same page, and if we could get to the right people, I'm with you all the way.
okay, I didn't mean to go so completely
No.
off topic.
No, it's fine. We have to show our passion for our kids.
We do. It's all about the children. It's all
Yeah.
about the kids. Okay,
So we feel pretty good about this meeting, or do we need to have some more, or do we? Oh, sorry. There's my ticket.
So Crystal, I'm gonna guide you a little bit. You're gonna identify the next steps. Do I hear a motion to resign to a new meeting, or do I hear a motion to accept the budget? And then somebody has to make the motion.
We haven't done public comment yet.
Oh. Sorry. Well, you're in charge.
Public comment. Didn't have a gavel this time. I wasn't sure. So do we have any public comment?
You're the public.
I'm double sure.
There, you're our public.
Sure. Do I hear any motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion to approve the budget as written.
If she doesn't have it, I'm like it. Yeah.
Well, I move to approve the Glendale School District budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, in the amount of $8,567,613. I also move to approve the taxes provided for the proposed budget of a permanent tax rate of 4.7431 per 1,000 of assessed value for the general fund operations, and a tax for bonded indebtedness in the amount of 103,000 for the debt service fund.
I would second that motion.
Let's vote, please.
Online.
We have any on.
Brian.
Brian.
Brian is on.
Brian.
Brian, vote.
Yeah. Justin, yes.
Caroline, yes.
Harold, yes.
Ron, yes?
White, yes.
Martin, yes.
That way we didn't miss them.
I forgot he was there.
Thank you.
You make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor. I like that one.
Aye.
That's good.
Every meeting is separate. For the mayor, you have to do it separate, and the CCBCA, it's all in favor, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Together.
Thank you very much.
No, I don't think you're being mean.
I know.
So you told me you didn't think I could answer your question.
I know. They would be more than happy.
My wife.
Folks.
So you can always